Here's Pastrnak off a feed from Geeky, just outside, and he scores! Pastrnak going back and forth in front of Hildeby, and he gets number 400 in his career, and the Bruins have a 4-1 lead.
Okay, so I didn't hit my Boston sports bet last night. Thanks a lot, Celtics. But I slept just fine because of the Bruins, baby. How about them bees? 7 in a row now. And how about Mr. 400 himself, Pasta, or should I call him Mr. 401? We're celebrating him all show long right here on Boston has entered the chat. Let's go, bees! Woo!
It's any given week in this league. It's just coming off a win, and they got great players, so we got a tough task, and they're coming here with wanting to beat in division. We're wearing whatever jerseys, and they're gonna have something to play for, and they still do. So they're gonna be a tough challenge, and I think it's, like I said, any given week. So you gotta prepare on a short week and kind of win that battle.
Kasey, I'm just happy that Drake May had to follow Travis and not us. That's the important thing.
That is actually.
Drake can do his one day at a time thing. Great. That's what professional athletes are supposed to do. But are we looking at the #1 seed come the end of the year in the AFC? It is amazing what these Patriots are doing.
Very curious, but it is also Wednesday, which means Lou Merloni joins the program to illuminate some off-season thoughts as the GM meetings are taking place in Vegas. Guess what, Boston? It is time to enter the chat. Share.
That's right. Come on in. The water's fine. Boston has indeed entered the chat. And, Pasta and the Bees broke the internet. The Bar Scar tweets, "We own the Leafs. It's in the game." This team has become something else, and I am all for it. An excellent original six matchup, as expected. 8 of 9 wins since Marco Sturm's speech. Fire! Torch! Let's go, Bruins! We're with you, Bar Scar. We are with you as we welcome you in to the Salem 5 studios. Travis Thomas here, Adam Kaufman, the Kasey Hudson in the house.
Getting suddenly so subdued.
How about these Bruins, though? 7 in a row, and Mr. 401 himself, Pasta. Everything's coming up Boston Bruins, guys.
Everything. I love that you made it clear that the internet broke over this, because it wasn't the original 6 matchup that broke the internet. It wasn't the fact that the Bruins posted 10 goals against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the last 2 weeks.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, just match it. Man in the mirror kind of energy. But I'll say this. It's the fact that all of a sudden we have a problem with celebrations. Some certain celebrations are just a wee bit too much, which I was not expecting this,
There's
Travis.
a problem with celebrations?
Too much celly in the water here in Boston. Yeah.
Kev, come on, Kev. Kev says, "I'll be the dweeb. Entire team coming out for a 400th goal is kind of dumb." Kev, you're definitely dweebing right here. What are you doing, bro? How about Morgan Geeky clapping back? Stick to your day job, Kevo.
It always hits an extra layer for me when they throw the name on. Sup, Trevor? Stick to your day job,
Trevor.
Kevin. That's what it is.
Now we got a sup Kevin moment.
Yeah, sup, Kevin.
Yeah.
Stick to your day job.
What do you only do? Pop over here once a month? Kevin probably only does check in on the Bruins
You only
once a
gonna
month.
tweet at me once a month?
Yeah.
Kevin also knew he was wrong because he said, "I'm being a dweeb here." Yes, then don't say it. It's almost like being like, "No offense, but no, don't say what you're about to say that's offensive."
But how many no offenses does one get on Twitter? It's like the actual app for I know I shouldn't, but let's see how many retweets we get on this.
I understand. This is not obviously like Alex Ovechkin, let's stop the game. He just hit 900.
Yeah.
He's the NHL
Right.
all-time leading goal scorer
Yes.
and hit a benchmark nobody's ever
Adam,
done.
it was appropriate what they did.
There are a lot of guys that have, not a lot, but you know what I mean. It's not completely and totally unique to have 400 career regular season goals in the
Was
NHL.
it not?
But my point is, the dancing around that we are doing right now has taken longer than that celebration out there.
Yeah.
There was no ceremony. They didn't stop the game.
That's
It
right.
was just everybody bum rushed him in the corner for a big group hug, a little pig pile there with Pastrnak.
Got back to business.
Back to business and back to go out and win the game.
Yeah.
And also,
It was appropriate.
if the Bruins, and they controlled that thing from Jump Street last night. It was a great game. They're up 3-1 after one, never looked back, obviously, in the way to that 5-3 win. If they're down 4-1 in that game and he
Sure.
scores it, does that still happen? I don't know. And I
Good
think
point.
maybe more people would have had a problem with it even if they did. And I think they probably still would have because, again, celebrate your teammate. It is a big deal. And by the way, like nifty, Rick Middleton coming for you. One more, and then Pastrnak is tied for 5th place in the Bruins organization. Johnny Busick, who leads at 545. That's not that many ahead if you think about the fact that Pastrnak is 29 years old.
He's coming
Kasey.
for that.
I mean,
Crazy.
within the next 5 years,
He's coming for that.
We may be saying David Pastrnak, the Boston Bruins all-time leading goal scorer.
I would bet on
I think
that.
everybody's just getting too hung up on the odds and even situation. Like, if it was 500, I would understand. The bottom line is what David Pastrnak has done for this organization, what he is about to mean further
Amen.
for this organization.
Amen.
And I'll even add this to it. Yes, I'm the kind of girl that likes to celebrate absolutely everything, half birthdays included, but considering...
Happy half, by the way.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
That's a thing?
Considering... Yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah,
You
we'll
didn't
get you
get
up
the
to...
cake?
I don't know.
Wow, failure.
I had
Cake in
no
the
idea.
newsroom.
I've never
after the
heard of
game,
it.
man.
We're
I
going to
never heard
circle
of it.
back to this. But considering the narratives and the themes and everything that was talked about revolving around this Bruins team heading into this season, now
Yeah.
you're talking about a team competing to go for 7 straight. Oh, by the way, we all thought it was going to rest on the shoulders of Pasta. So for him
Yeah.
to be able to continue to inch the mile marks of his career within all the means of what's taking place of this Bruins team, hell yeah, they're going to celebrate
Sure.
every little thing that's taking place. And I'll take it one step further. This didn't only just feel like a 400 goals, 401 goals situation to me. This felt like everyone on the internet that likes to say that Pasta potentially is wasting his peak in Boston. Yeah.
That part.
400 goals here on a season where you were supposed to do nothing. You were supposed to be worse than the Blackhawks were
That's
last
right. That's
year,
right. That's
is
what
what
people
people were
have said.
piping on about.
That's what people
and
have
you've
said.
got Pasta celebrating 400
That's
and
right.
401 in one game.
That's right.
He's not going to waste his peak here in Boston. And whether you like it or not, the future is actually bright considering that there is going to be more than one Fraser Mittens that become a part of this roster that helps solidify the identity of where this team could potentially go, blending the original 6 identity, blending the Bruins identity with where the NHL is going.
You heard Casey. If you disagree, you're just a dweeb. Call us 617-790-0928. Let's hear from Mr. 401 himself, Pasta, after making history.
Really hit me when the guys came over. That was so cool, you know, what they did for me. That's when probably really hit me, and it was awesome. Top it off with a win. It was great night.
What does that milestone mean to you, being the 29 years old and getting that 400th goal?
It's probably the first time that I really, get deep thinking. Like I said, when the guys showed up and came celebrate with me, that's when it hit me. Obviously now having a family, having a daughter and my wife, who they are supporting me. Obviously, you get to think about your mom and my brother, supporting me my whole career. So, I think that's when it hit me. So definitely, obviously aiming for something else, but something in 5-10 years. Obviously, it'd be awesome to enjoy with my family and so it definitely hit me different. Just to be able to do it at home in front of our fans. Maybe that's why it was special, because obviously, like I said, the 60 goal wasn't nearly as enjoyable like this one.
Get a lot.
Okay, Mr. 401, you heard from him. You've heard from us. We need to hear from you. 617-790-0928. Call us. You have the hottest hockey team in the world. Call us. Let's talk about this. Now, I used to argue all the time before Ovi finally did break through and get a cup. I remember being in so many arguments with people of saying how great this guy is. We've never seen a goal scorer like him. He's generational, all these things.
Yeah.
And people would shut me down. I'd have nowhere to go because they would say, yeah, no, you're right. Doesn't have a cup. And I would just sit back and go, ugh. It was like a gut punch.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Pasta, and I'm saying this is an all-timer. We just laid out how in the next 5 years, this dude could be the all-time goal scorer for this franchise, this storied franchise, and I can see it clearly. He is such a great generational, there's that word, player in this sport. He's got to get a cup, doesn't he? I mean, I saw a tweet where someone's like, this guy is way better than Kucherov. And I thought, yeah, but he needs a cup. Here it is right here. Sean tweets, all things considered, he's above Kucherov, and people just don't like the combo. They'd rather ignore how little he has to work with. and clearing teammates by 50-plus points. Sean's making great points here, yet somehow leading the stat. Again, this guy, though, and I argued this for years for a different player, but Pasta is such a great player. At some point, he has to get a cup. And the way this team's playing right now, if they're fighting for a wild card, if they can get in, you never know. But certainly with Sturm, with his system, with how Pasta's playing, Swayman, we're getting some consistency here. He's young, geeky. It feels like that window is still open for Pasta, even though many of us thought it may be closed.
Well, I argued that the window is very much open, but in terms of Sean's tweet, pump the brakes just a smidge, because I understand the fact that, like, he says that Pasta has worked with less talent per se, but that can't particularly be true. Look at who Pasta learned from when he first got here. He had a different leadership group, whereas Nikita Kucherov went to an organization where that leadership fell on his shoulders pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Two different leadership styles, by the way. But then if you want to talk about pieces that help amplify a skilled player's game, we know how much Nikita Kucherov respects Steven Stamkos and looked to him to kind of guide him through the season. Didn't have him last year, only played 78 games, picked up 121 points, sat at a plus 22 rating. Like, he didn't drop off. And then, oh, by the way, maybe one of his better seasons with becoming a little bit more defensively responsible. And that's kind of where the tilt comes in between these two. Smaller frame guy on Nikita Kucherov in comparison to David Pastrnak. But Kucherov, per the experts, per the analysts, has been a little bit more defensively sound and responsible when need be. He kind of falters sometimes in that sense, but still, so you're talking about somebody who can be a little bit more of a two-way contributor in a sense. We've seen a more physical David Pastrnak this year, but I'd go back to make the argument around the talent around these players to say, how many 82-game seasons has Nikita Kucherov actually played? And he makes 100-plus points look like nothing. I'll put it into perspective for you. The last 82-game season Kucherov had was 2022 to 23. Before that, 17 to 18. Before that, 14 to 15. Pasta has played in 3 consecutive 82-game seasons.
Wow.
Let's track it back to the last 2 seasons. I mentioned last year, 121 points, plus 22 rating, more defensively sound. The year before that, the closest to 82, at 81 games, 144 points. You know what Pasta did that year? 110 points with 1 game extra on Nikita Kucherov. So you're talking about 2 guys that are just master manipulators when it comes to the puck. We saw goal 400 and just how sweet he makes ankle-breaking look. Both of these guys have the capability, but there's just an extra scope, an extra lens in what Nikita Kucherov finds on the ice and what he makes happen. And it's not always reliant on the power play. It's not always reliant on any sort of scenario with hockey. He has stepped up in a number of ways to be the end-all be-all for that Tampa Bay Lightning team with talent around him or not, because there's a number of times that, oh, by the way, his favorite center to play alongside of hasn't been in the lineup, because Braden Point is another guy who's been in and out from injuries for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So Kucherov hasn't had to rely on the guys around him, so that kind of puts a margin in the whole conversation of talent around you versus talent not around you. I look at the fact of how many games have you guys had to work with and manipulate, and you're talking about a perfect season for this Boston Bruins team just 2 short years ago.
I'll tell you this.
Ethan, who sent that tweet again? Who is that?
Sean.
Sean, that's where you need to hit him with. So there, Sean. Yeah, that you need.
No, actually, it's sup, Sean.
Yeah, you need. Yeah. So there's Sean. There's your. I can't believe.
He needs 1 cup, bro. Enter the chat with 1 cup.
Yeah.
Look,
but Kuch is 3
great.
years older than Pasta, so that's where you obviously can't. Like, I don't like this argument either, because there's still differences between the two. You know what I'm saying?
I need to just for a second. I need to have a little therapy here off of what you guys are talking about, because the Patriots have won 7 straight.
Yep.
Craig Breslow. We'll talk to Lou Merloni a little bit later on about the Red Sox. He's talking about all these offseason desires and going out and spending. Yep. The Bruins, who came in with such remarkably low expectations into this year, have won 7 in a row, and you guys are sitting here talking about, the cup window. And I need to pour just a little bit of water on what we've got going on right now. Yes, the Bees are tied for first in the Atlantic with Montreal with 22 points, albeit with 2 more games played in the Canadiens.
Hallelujah.
And only New Jersey has more points in the Eastern Conference with 23. I am not for a moment sitting here saying the Bruins cannot or will not be a playoff team. What they are doing, the buy-in to Marco Sturm's system, the way that they are winning, Jeremy Swayman 4 straight wins. He's looking really sharp in net right now. Korpisalo, when he gets his opportunities, are looking really good. They're winning these games absent some of their top options, in the top 6 in terms of the forwards. There's no Casey Middlestat. There's no Elias Lindholm. Even Charlie McAvoy's been in and out of line. Here's your butt. But this team is still not a cup contender.
Wait a minute.
This team is not a cup
You wait just a
contender.
minute. You mean to tell me
No,
in this
come on.
sport, if you get in the
Not
playoffs,
even
you
the
haven't
most-
seen crazier things? Goalies get hot, stand on their head.
They do.
Hunk
Tim
luck
Thomas
happens.
did it back
You
in
gotta get in the
2011. I get it,
playoffs.
but you still not even. I don't think if we had Cam Neely and Don Sweeney on this program right now, they would sit here and say to you, "Yeah, we're a Stanley Cup contender
If
at
you
this
get
moment."
into the postseason in this sport, you have a shot.
You can ride
and you
a
know
hot
that
goalie,
better
you
than
can
anyone.
ride
Don't
a
do
hot
that.
line. Absolutely.
I've got a mini
Don't do
Marco
that.
mentality. It's game by game. It is game by game.
Well,
like
that's
the fact
fair,
that they can be
but
considered a playoff
we're
team is
talking
already
big-
a massive step.
I'm just saying you can't sit here and say this team can make the playoffs, but they can't win a cup. That's not true in hockey. Other
In
sports,
hockey,
okay. In hockey, that's not true.
In hockey, 8 seeds can win.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
You got to get in.
They need to make some moves at the deadline if we're going to start
Well,
to
that's a
realistically
different
have this
combo,
conversation.
Adam.
It's
That's a
not. It's
different-
all related because as of right now, based on what this roster is and the depth is it a Stanley Cup contender?
Wait.
If your answer to that is yes, then you can sit here and say trade deadline be damned. But if your answer to that is it's a different combo, wait and see, then you're saying no. Nesson, where's the poll? Let's put the poll on social media. Are the Bruins right now a Stanley Cup contender? And look, we know what this audience is. This audience loves the Boston Bruins. So do we. We still need to be realistic about where they are in this rebuild. You wouldn't use the term rebuild for a team that is a contender.
So your reality becomes more clear depending on what happens at the trade deadline, regardless of mentioning the fact that they were able to beat a Toronto team without a Middlestat, without a McAvoy, with all the changes and
Canes.
adversity that they've had to see. Yeah.
It's a regular season game in November.
Well, look, I won't disagree with the fact that postseason is a completely different beast. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if the goal is going to be splash at the trade deadline, considering that they're starting to find depth that wasn't a part of their identity heading into this season. They're starting to understand that the development in which the guys that need a chance on this roster eventually. I mean, look at the guys that they have playing in college that not only need a spot on this team, but need a top 6 spot. There's already forced movement that's going to have to take place to recalibrate this roster.
If this team is at the deadline going out and parting with, first-round draft picks for major rental acquisitions to, get them over the hump, then they will be screaming in our faces, heck yeah, we're a contender. I don't think they feel that way behind closed doors. And I think they would sit there and honestly say
I was going to say, they just got some draft capital back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which
is so important toward building toward that cup that you want to see so badly Pastrnak to win. But that doesn't happen this year.
What do you want to see let's have the conversation. What do you think this team needs at the deadline, currently constructed, to where you, sir, would feel like, okay, here come the bees?
Depth across the board.
Okay.
I mean, especially in terms of the forwards.
All right.
I think your defense is looking, again, very sharp right now. I mean, we talked about this so much going into the year. McAvoy needs to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Lindholm needs to stay healthy. Some of these other guys but again, like, they're right now. This is one of those, your classic case, and this is not a knock. Like, teams need this.
Sure.
Good teams, bad teams, any team needs this. You need the right guys to just kind of like step up at the right time,
But
take
does that
advantage
feel
of
like a
opportunity,
name to
be
you?
next man up. No, like Mason Lowry. How many times has this dude been a healthy scratch this year, but then he comes back in the lineup, takes advantage of an opportunity, and stays in the lineup when McAvoy comes back?
I'm just trying
That's
to
great.
understand the depth part, because here's the thing. When Lindholm comes back,
depth
when
part is you just
Middlestat
always
comes
need
back,
depth.
you're talking about where does a Husnudinov go? Where does an Alex Steves go? By the way, Alex Steves tore it up
Scored
in Toronto
against his old
AHL.
team.
Right. So his projected peak, his projected skill set is of a top 6 forward. So, like, I'm over here on the side of, like, how many moves do you make before you understand the full potential of what you have ahead of you? Because, again, where are you slotting in these pieces? Husnudinov is not a bottom 6 player. So you have depth in a sense. Now let's take it one step further. You go a year out, you've got a James Hagens that's going to be coming into the mix. You've got 2 elite players playing at North Dakota right now that have to be able to make this roster, again, as at least a top 9 within the next year.
So let me frame it a different way real quick.
And you have an Oilers team that made the Stanley Cup final when nobody can name a number of their bottom 6 players besides Henrique, however you say his last name.
I'll frame it this way, and I know we're short on time, but a lot of the organizations that we could talk about as being contenders each and every year, you know who and what they are. To your point, I don't think they're having maybe fourth liners or something like that. But generally speaking, within the organization, I don't think there are a whole lot of conversations about what about this guy? What's he going to become? Where does he slot in? That kind of like this isn't Brad Marchand being called up from Providence, being used on the fourth line, being a gritty guy on the fourth line that ultimately obviously becomes what he became and a future Hall of Famer, all of that. You named a bunch of guys, rightfully, that their futures, while bright, are uncertain. Teams that fit that bill.
It takes reps to find certainty, though.
Yeah, but they can be playoff teams and aren't quite yet contenders.
617-790-0928. Where do you weigh in on all this? We want to hear from you. Your hockey team is scorching hot. Get in here and talk to us. So's your football team. When we come back, what's trending in the world of sports, we're talking those red hot Pats too. 7 in a row for them as well. Everything's coming up Boston. Here on Boston has entered the chat. Roll with us.
We are back at it with Boston has entered the chat live in the Salem 5 studio, and it is time to get into what is trending in the world of sports, or zooming into New England because that's most important here in Boston. Let's take a look because there's a split decision taking place on the internet. I wasn't sure where the guys' minds lied in this one, so we will go to Twitter first because New England has an interesting jersey out there. I'm going to preference it by leaving it at interesting, but Stephon Diggs lover. I can digs it. All right, I don't know if I'm on board with you there, lover boy. But the next one, Brian says awful. Looks like Colts uniform.
I'm with Brian. It's very Colt-like.
I don't know.
It's Colt-like.
I think it's Colt-like.
Let's see it. It's Colt-like.
And this is where, exactly. And this is where we see clearly the different eye scope, the different palette between a man and a woman, because this is not Colt blue,
Peyton
guys.
Manning and Marvin Harrison Sr.
No, actually, it's not
in that uniform.
It's not Colt blue, number one. Number
She's
two,
not
my
wrong.
sister texted me about this uniform, and she goes, is this looked at as like Game of Thrones blue? And I cannot unsee it.
Yeah, it's got a little Game of Thrones-y to
music
it.
we're hearing right now.
I can dig it. I kind of get Penn State vibes too from this.
Oh
Listen,
my God, you guys are mixing.
light.
No, it's
a little too light.
It's not that blue.
not it either.
This is what I'll say about this, okay? This is my final word on this. These uniforms suck. However, if you beat the Jets, I love them. So that's where I'm at.
How
if
much
you lose
do you love
to
them? Do you get one?
Absolutely not. But if you beat the Jets, I'm down with them. But if you lose to the Jets, can I be clear? Burn these forever.
If one of these jerseys shows up at the door with Thomas and whatever your favorite number is on the back, you'll be wearing it every day. This uniform is awful.
He'll be wooing in the beginning of the show with that.
He will.
Yeah.
Bounce up and
8 in a row. Look at my
Let me hear you, New England. Look at this nor'easter uniform. Oh, this is fresh.
You call this Game of Thrones blue?
No, he'll walk in the studio. Winter is coming.
I realize winter is here. Look at me, right? I realize I am the noted fashion expert with my Baby Gap sweatshirt.
You
but listen, it is that is a tough look, that uniform.
It's an ugly uniform.
It's an ugly.
It's ugly.
I just don't get the blue.
To be clear, by the way, Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, everybody.
All the Krafts.
This is not about you. This is not about the Patriots. This is an NFL thing. The NFL is responsible for this, much the same way as the NBA is responsible for those horrific Celtics gold uniforms.
Where's the green?
Yes, where's the green?
Where's the green?
These are cash grabs. Just absolute pro shop demands for the fans.
Oh, she likes this.
No, I don't hate it, but
on the surface, it's not a bad uniform.
It's the Saints.
It's just right. It's not a good uniform for the Boston Celtics.
Drew Brees would look great in this.
It's clean. It's easy to read. But give me green.
Hasn't been back to New Orleans in how long?
I think he's in the media now.
Right.
Yeah.
He can't even go back there.
No, it's an ugly nor'easter themed uniform. And you mentioned like the white. I don't want to see an all white uniform either.
Okay,
but
I'm saying like I wouldn't. Can we pull the picture up one more time by chance? If this was primarily white and then the contrast, not this one, the New England Patriots
one,
Game of Thrones one.
Yeah, let's go from one ugly one to the other.
If you flip it, if it's more white and then the blue is just kind of the contrasting colors, you know what I mean? I can handle that a little bit better. But like everyone who's like Colts and Bills and whatever else you just named, no guys. This looks like almost like a denim jean.
It is
blue.
a denim blue.
Yeah, it's a really weird
That's
blue.
dumb.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
I know I'm new here, but this doesn't scream Blizzard anything to me.
I know you've got your winter palette queued up on your computer.
I do. So, like, just to put into
the problem
perspective.
is you're going to show it. It looks like your computer's
This is the winter
crying.
is coming palette. Look, it looks better right now. Look at this.
Looks like you have a virus.
It went green again.
God.
I'm going to tweet it, but this is the winter is coming palette. I can't figure this out. There we go. From this angle.
Looking uniform. Bring back the red. Bring back the Pat Patriot red every week.
Yes.
You didn't even try to educate me.
Yes.
Week.
All right. Well, let us
one in
know
my
if you
closet.
feel as convicted as these two. I'm just on the Game of Thrones train. 617-790-0928. You know who doesn't give us anything to waver on? That is Lou Merloni on the other side of this break here on Boston is Under the Chat.
Welcome back. Boston has entered the chat here on Nesson. And, of course, as we know, the Patriots, 7 straight wins. The Bruins, 7 straight wins. We're waiting to be able to say that about the Red Sox come the spring, obviously. Right now, it's building the team that's going to be capable of doing that out there on the field.
Yep.
And just as he does every Wednesday right here on the show, Lou Merloni joins us again. I'm still trying to find the alliteration that works with Merloni and Wednesday and putting it all together. Lou, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Doing good. Finally getting some news. We'll see if we get some action.
Yep.
Yeah, so we had Craig Breslow speak, obviously the chief baseball officer for the Red Sox, earlier this week in Las Vegas at the GM meetings. And the highlights, we'll dive deeper into all these things, but the highlights, wants a good, solid playoff caliber number 2 pitcher,
Yes.
not just another guy that you can kind of bump up in the rotation. Trevor Story, you're the shortstop come 2026, and of course the need for a power bat. Now, we've hit on a lot of these things week after week when you join us, particularly the starters. Oftentimes it's, do you go out, you trade for a Joe Ryan, because this goes all the way back to when they attempted to do so at the trade deadline. What I really liked hearing, though, from Breslow was, listen, we got a lot of depth. 3 through 10, like, we're good. We need a number 2, and we don't really, like, not closing the door, we don't really want to trade for that guy and give up prospects and have another Crochet type deal. We want to go out and spend. We've got the money. We need a free agent. Framber Valdez is out there.
Yep.
Ranger Suarez is out there. Dylan Cease is out there.
Zach Gallen.
Who do you want?
You know, I still want the trade for the arm. You know, for the simple fact that, you know, if you trade for an arm and then spend money on bats, like think about how many arms might be available through trade. How many bats are you hearing that could be available through trade?
Good point.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Any?
No, that's a good point.
No, so it's like if you sign the free agent arm and you spend $25 to $30 million, and then you're like, okay, then we're going to trade for a bat. I don't know what that bat is. I don't know who that person is. You know, so for me, it would be, okay, trade for Joe Ryan, trade for Sandy Alcantara, trade for some of these guys that, you know, that are out there possibly via trade, Peralta, and then go spend the money on free agency, because that's where the bats are. There's arms out there, but I just feel like there's an arm to be acquired through a trade.
If I sat down with you and I gave you a blank checkbook and I said,
It wouldn't be back here.
and I said, Lou, you're in charge of this, Lou. Here's a roster. It is what it is. My only wish from you with this blank checkbook is, I want a duck boat parade here. How would we get there, Lou? Give me the moves. Give me the names. Put names on it. Get me my G-damn duck boat parade. What would you do, sir?
Oh boy, I can spend anything I want.
Yep.
So it would be it's simple. I would trade for Joe Ryan. I would trade for Ketel Marte, put him at second. I'd sign Alonso and I'd sign Bregman.
Ooh. Wow.
I mean, that would be it. That would be my infield with power and good hitters and veterans, and that would be my number 2 to go with a plethora of arms that I still would have.
Boy, I didn't even see second base coming. What would you say to the fans that say, why would you get him? There's other areas of need. Like, why is that? Tell me why that's getting us a duck boat parade in your mind.
Well, he told me I could do anything.
Yeah.
So that's.
I just want an explanation.
He's like, I'm doing anything you asked
sitting
for.
here in
Yeah,
franchise mode
I
playing
didn't
the
see
show.
your
Because he's-
curveball. That's
Yeah,
all.
number one, it's like I always love like the really good switch hitter that can hit like second or third. It doesn't really matter, lefty, righty. You know, I think you have an infield of for exceptional veteran hitters. So it's like I want more adults. You know, the one thing when Breslow was talking about a power bat, we need a power bat in the middle of the lineup. You need two. You don't need one because Alex Bregman's not here. If you brought back Alex Bregman and called him that, you are even. You are where you were last year. So you got to get two, not one. Yeah. So that's why I say spend the money on bats and go and trade for that arm.
Man,
so
I love that.
Jumping back a few spots here, because I like the perspective of trade versus pay and vice versa here. When you're getting to the middle of the order and that power bat, is there a preference that you feel like would make an immediate impact in terms of like left-handed batter versus right-handed batter? Because that's where some conversations started to play in terms of who the better fit would be between Alonso and
Schwarber and Alonso, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just some versatility to positioning. You know, I mean, Alonso could play first base. You don't know how long he's going to be there, whereas Schwarber, you know, you're signing a DH. I think it's always better to have a right-handed bat, you know what I mean, in the middle of that lineup. So you'd prefer a righty. But that's not to say, I think he even mentioned it too, like a guy like David Ortiz as a DH, of course you would take that production. Of course you would take Kyle Schwarber. And if you have a power left-handed bat, you know, sometimes Fenway can be extremely beneficial to them as well. But having that righty there that potentially could be 35 to 45 home runs, I think makes a big difference.
Well, I think the home run thing is something that needs to be highlighted, and Breslow touched on this as well, that it's, you know, obviously there are ways to score runs that don't involve the homer, but it's just such a big part of the game right now, and especially in the postseason. You know, some numbers that I read earlier, teams that out-homered their opponents in the playoffs over the last 2 years, 52-14, 8-1 in the World Series. And Boston's just not hitting enough. Below average last year, 9th in the American League. And we can fantasize, obviously, about whether it's Gino Suarez or Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber, obviously. But let's just say the pipe dream doesn't happen where you get that one guy who can come in and, you know, a la Rafael Devers when he was here, give you 40-plus homers, and we go full-on Billy Beane, replace him in the aggregate, right? Where do you find this collection of 20-plus homer guys that can fill out your lineup?
Well, I think it's got to be one of two things. When you look at last year and you look at the Toronto Blue Jays and the Milwaukee Brewers, neither team hit a bunch of home runs, but they made a ton of contact. Now, in the playoffs, you know, Vlad got hot. He started hitting some home runs. You got some unexpected power, whether it was Ernie Clement. Now, Varsho can leave the yard here and there. Barger can as well. So you got to have one of the two things. The Red Sox didn't hit many home runs and they didn't make much contact. That is not a good recipe of success. It's got to be elite in one of the two. You know, so you can be the Yankees and hit a ton of home runs and maybe not make much contact and make up for that. So it's got to be one or the other. So if you don't bring in some serious power in this lineup, you got to bring in some contact in this lineup and hope that some of the young guys that are here improve in that area. So it's got to be one of the two. You've already got guys that can hit you 20, right? Whether it's Story and you're looking at a guy like, you know, Rafael is approaching that area now, and then you've got Abreu as well. So you can mix in a couple more, but it's got to be one of the two. You can't be a team that doesn't make much contact, doesn't hit home runs. That's not very successful, even though they still scored a lot of runs at the Red Sox.
Lou, I'm curious how you sift through all the noise during the offseason that is all over social media, because every time I look up, I see a Photoshop of Fernando Tatis Jr. in a Red Sox uniform, and I just wonder, what am I missing? Because he looks great in it, don't get me wrong, great player, love him, but he's under contract for the next 100 years. Like, what the hell, what's going on there? Are you hearing anything, or is this just literally people playing fantasy baseball during the off season?
Yeah, it's really simple. I don't listen to it. I read it.
I think he told us he doesn't do the emotional roller coaster weeks ago.
But I don't listen to it. You know, throughout the year, every once in a while, at a deadline or free agency, you hear Cora say something about, I worked at ESPN, I know how it works. Some people make things up. And I think some of the loudest voices nationally do exactly that. I don't buy any of it. I really don't. Like, it's fun to read. It's fun to watch. And every time I see this story and I read who wrote it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You know, because I just don't believe it. You know, I think everything is on the table. I think, can Tatis be gotten? Sure, he can. You know, he's $35 million for the next 9-10 years. I know he's young, but, you know, Skubal, will he be traded? I guess he could be, but I find it hard to believe, not to say that he won't, that he will, but we'll see what happens. It's just a lot of chatter. And it's funny because I'll go down to the winter meetings next month and I'll talk to some people who really know what's going on and say, hey, you've been rumored to this guy, and this guy. They're like, yeah, we're not interested. So whether we're continuing that rumor to rise up the price for somebody else, or it's just a flat out lie.
Well, thankfully, a little less noise revolves around the young guys that made an impact on this Red Sox team. And I'm wondering if maybe because of their potential success or where the expectation of their game is supposed to go in the upcoming season, if that might put some perimeters on the moves that may or may not need to be made in the offseason. There was some commentary about Marcelo Meyer, him getting stronger. What do you kind of see for him for the upcoming season?
Yeah, the good thing is there's a lot of potential with all these guys. Casas is another one, right? And same thing with Marcelo. I see a lot of people saying, let Bregman go, put Marcelo with third on. I really enjoyed Marcelo Meyer. I think defensively, I think that he is an elite defender. But he came up because Alex Bregman got hurt. He didn't really come up because he was knocking down the door. I think there's other things he needs to work on. I think he's going to be a great young hitter. He's missed too many at-bats. He's missed too many games. There's been a lot of injuries throughout his minor league career and coming up through the system. Those are extremely valuable at-bats. So he can hit a fastball, which is the first checkpoint to be a big league hitter, which is exceptional. But he started to see teams spin the ball on him. He started to see teams throw some off-speed pitches. I think facing left-handed pitching, I think that needs to be worked on. There's still some things he needs to check off. We lump he and Roman together, and we shouldn't. It's just not fair. Roman is a unicorn, okay? This is a guy that said, you need to hit lefties better. And he said, okay, the next year we don't hit lefties better than righties. Like, everything just sort of clicks easily for him. And it's not to say that it won't for Marcelo. It's just that he needs at-bats, valuable ones that he has missed throughout his career.
Yeah, not even 50 games last year, obviously. Didn't hit particularly well, to your point, but he's an elite defender across the infield. And what you see now, it lumps into this conversation with Trevor Story, right? I think a lot of people wondered, will he opt out? Obviously, last week we found out that he opted back in, 2 years and $50+ million over the course of these couple of seasons. And Breslow comes out and says, Story, there's no debate. He is our starting shortstop come 2026, and isn't alarmed by defensive miscues and some of those areas that fans got all riled up about last year. He says he steadies the infield, he's a leader out there, all of that stuff. And I think there are still some people, it's like, I don't know, whether it's range, whether it's arm strength, does he need to be at second base? So we know it's not going to happen. So what does that mean for second in the nuclear outcome that Alex Bregman obviously is not back here?
I still think I think a lot of really good teams, a lot of championship teams always have one position that they'll just throw bodies at going into the year. And I think second could be that position. I'd love to have Marte here from Arizona. I'm not sure that'll happen. So if you do get that first baseman you're looking for, if Bregman does come back and you've got Story and you say, okay, you don't have a second baseman, you've got bodies there. We saw what Romy Gonzalez was able to do. You do have Marcelo Meyer, who I think probably will start the year down in AAA and just kind of get into a groove a little bit. You still have David Hamilton. You still have some bodies there. And, of course, you can acquire somebody as well. So I feel like if you get what you need, and really what they need is corner infield power. If you get that, I think you can kind of throw some bodies at second base.
Let's talk Jarren Duran. I mean, I haven't talked to you since I saw the Sox gave him the one-year deal. And it seems like the consensus is that's the guy to be moved. Do you see that happening, or do you think Duran's here this season for the duration?
Yeah, I still think it comes down to, who they're looking for in a trade and what that team is interested in. Are they more interested in Abreu? Like, if you have a number 2 starter that you have your sights set on and you say, this is the guy we need, and they come to you and say, we want Rafaela, are you going to say no? Right. Like, I think all 3 of them are in play, and Duran, it's like, I've been pretty active on social media. Everyone's like, why are you defending him? I'm like, well, because everyone's crapping on him. He's only the name that's ever being mentioned. He led your position player in WAR. Like, he was in WAR. He was the best player on your team. Right. Last year. And it wasn't the super year that he had the year before, but that's a pretty damn good floor, if that's going to be your down year. I still think he's a good player. I think if you do trade him, I think you should get a lot in return.
Are there any prospects that you do draw the line on? Because hearing you talk, every time I feel like I talk to you about trades, you're like, look, if that's a guy you want, go get him by any means necessary. Are there prospects, though, for you, Lou, where you're like, hey, wait a minute now, let's talk about this. I don't want to get rid of that guy. Or are you open, if you think of Joe Ryan, I'm throwing that out there because you keep saying his name. If that's the guy you're trading for, are you willing to part with whoever's?
Everyone's on the table. Okay. Let's not name Roman Anthony. I mean, absolutely everybody. Okay. Here's the thing. You drafted Roman Anthony 3 years ago. You get the draft again. You know, like everyone's talking about you can't trade Peyton Tolley. Nobody knew who Peyton Tolley was in April. Nobody.
Right.
And all of a sudden now he's a star. You know, Conley Early. Can't trade Conley Early. A year ago, you didn't know who he was.
Right.
You know, you didn't know who Password was. You didn't know who any of these guys were. So, you know, you just had a draft last year. It was a bunch of college pitchers. You know, but I guarantee by August, we'll be talking about somebody that no one's even mentioning because he's come through the system. He had a great offseason. He's thrown the ball real well, and he's climbed all the way to AA, AAA, and we're wondering if he's ready for the big leagues. Yeah. You draft every single year. You identify guys that are untradeable like a Roman Anthony because he's a unicorn. He's a star. Everybody else, you know, you don't want to go crazy. I'm not talking about trading the whole farm.
Right.
But you try to win in the big leagues. That's what the minor leagues are for. That's your strength. Use your strength and improve this team.
We could agree. You mentioned Tristan Casas moments ago, so we're hearing that he should be good to go to at least start participating in spring training. He's fully committed to be living down in Fort Myers in the offseason. Just kind of gauging your thoughts on what he needs to kind of bring to the table to make sure that he can reestablish himself with the organization. Yeah, I think he needs at-bats in AAA. You know, last year you walked into camp and said he's your first baseman. There was a little fluke injury the year before, but the injuries were a concern the 2 previous years. So you went into the year thinking he's your first baseman. Well, he got hurt again and missed the whole year. He needs at-bats. You know, he needs, whether it is go down, maybe it's April, maybe it's May. We know what the potential is. You know, hopefully he goes down there, finds his swing, gets comfortable. At that point, you might need a first baseman DH. Injuries do happen. And then he can still be a valuable piece for you. I just don't think you build your offseason banking on him being your first baseman. There's just been too much time missed. There's a ton of potential. You know, hopefully we learn things from year to year. Like everybody at spring training wants everyone to make the team out of camp. You know, guys like Roman Anthony weren't on the team in camp. Neither was Marcelo Meyer, Nick Sogard, Abraham Toro. None of these guys had roles, and they help you win. So by starting the year in AAA doesn't mean they've given up on you. Doesn't mean you're not going to help. Doesn't mean you're going to be not an important part of this team. It just means that you've lost a lot of time, and you got to go down and work on a few things. That's why I say guys like Casas, Meyer, Campbell, they're all in AAA to start. Go build your big league team without them, and that is outstanding depth when those guys are ready and you need them.
Casas spends his offseason.
Tell the people what I wrote you about, Lou.
Baseball godfather.
You are the baseball godfather, dog.
Right there
like
on the paper.
every week, this dude. Hey man, you're the best in the game, Lou. I'm sorry, you're the best in the game, bro.
I was going to say, with Casas, you know, he spends his offseason typically in Miami. He's relocating to Fort Myers for the months to come. There's no questioning this dude's dedication.
It's still different.
Lou Merloni joins us every Wednesday here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. And the hot stove, it's only ramping up. Lou, thank you so much, man. We'll talk again soon.
You got it. Can't wait. Enjoy the week. Talk to you next Wednesday.
All right, you as well. Hopefully in the next couple of days we'll be celebrating another Patriots win.
Yes.
8 straight.
Yeah.
We're going to look ahead to this matchup with the Jets. And just New England, let's live in the moment for a second.
Yeah.
New England's place in the NFL. Are we looking at a future #1 overall seed, first-round bye in the AFC?
Die down the drama. Die down the drama.
Die down the drama? There's no way. We'll be right back. We'll get into it.
Welcome back to Boston Has Entered the Chat. How about those Patriots Boston diehards tweets? Pretty insane that the conversation around the Patriots has shifted from making the playoffs to having a shot at the 1 seed in the AFC. Pretty crazy, diehards. You're right. Dwayne Ferguson tweets, Patriots having an up year at the right time. Bills and Chiefs, not looking as sharp so far this season. Get on a roll, stay on a roll, and focus. Anything can happen. And that's what we're talking about. Anything is possible. Patriots 1 seed in the AFC? Question mark? I mean, it can happen, right?
So I like to. There's so many things on my mind when it comes to this.
Let's
live for a minute in obviously the moment. You know, you got 3 teams. Technically, the Patriots third in the AFC based on tiebreakers, but you got 3 teams with the same record at 8-2. You're with the Colts. You're with the Broncos. Okay. I always like to bring Vegas into the conversation just to see what the odds makers are thinking when it comes to this. Your best odds to win the AFC, guys, is a team that's not even in a playoff spot right now, and that's Kansas City. Kansas City has the best chance to win the AFC, according to the odds makers, at plus 290, sitting outside the top 7 as we exist right now. Then you have the Bills, who trail you by 2 games in the win column in the AFC East. Then you have the Colts. Then you have the Ravens, another team that still is not in a playoff position in this moment. Then you get to the Patriots at plus 750. Ultimately, if we're just talking, and I know that factors in, it's not just obviously, this isn't who's at the end of week 18 going to be in the number 1 spot, getting the first round bye. This is about winning your bracket and claiming that top spot, representing your conference in the Super Bowl. So fine, let's take it down a little bit just for a second and look at what does it take to just finish number 1 in the conference. The way that we all figure that out is, okay, who's around you and who are they playing? So Indianapolis Colts. You've got Kansas City at Arrowhead in this next game. And I'm not going to go game by game through all these, but I'll highlight the big ones. You have the Texans. This is a team that's playing well.
Possible loss.
Yeah, I mean, a team that is still fighting for its playoff life, obviously. Seattle.
Loss.
San Francisco, a team that is,
Flip.
up and down,
Coin flip.
obviously. And you have Houston again at the end of the year in week 18, okay? So I think we would agree that it's not a joke of a schedule.
No, that's a tough
that
schedule.
the Colts have. Fine, Broncos. You got the Chiefs twice.
2
Playing
losses.
Kansas City twice, Denver. You also have Green Bay, who's a little inconsistent. And you have the Chargers.
Coin
Chargers
flip.
are, I mean, they've really only had 1 bad loss this year, and that was to the Giants.
Tough schedules.
We're talking about these 8-win teams. The Chargers are a 7-win team.
Sure.
They're in the mix. So fine, let's look at the Chargers schedule. You've got Philadelphia, defending champs.
Loss.
You've got Kansas City,
Loss.
as talked about. You have Houston, and
Coin
you have
flip.
Denver.
Coin flip.
Okay?
Okay. Tough
So
schedules.
that brings us to the Patriots, who now, as we exist right now, and I know this could change with a team like Baltimore in particular.
Sure.
But as it sits here right now, November 12th, this is a schedule that has 1 winning team on it.
Who?
One. And that is Buffalo, who you've already beaten prime time
That's right.
in Buffalo.
Yep.
It's the Jets.
Yes.
Who you are a 2-touchdown favorite against nearly. The Bengals, who, by the way, are bringing Joe Burrow back maybe the week after you face them.
That's right.
So this is another, like, everything's coming up Patriots, obviously. You don't have to see Joe Burrow get reunited there with Chase and Higgins.
That's right.
Giants, who are a dumpster fire and just fired their coach, Brian Daboll. The Bills in that revenge game in Foxborough. At Baltimore, again, a Ravens team that I think is going to be very legitimate come that time, so long as they're healthy. Nobody is disputing who and what the Ravens are.
Yeah.
Jets again, Dolphins.
Oh.
There is no doubt the Patriots of this group, if we're talking about the Colts, the Broncos, the Chargers teams that are right there in the mix with you in the standings right now. The Patriots, by far, have the easiest schedule. So, honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a failure, do that whole thing, if the Patriots don't finish as the number 1 seed. But if they go out and just do what they're supposed to do, which is beat the teams that are on your schedule, I mean, this should be considered the Patriots' conference to lose regular season. Not talking about the playoffs, but regular season. This should be viewed as the 1 seed to lose for you, the New England Patriots, who won 4 games each of the last 2 years. We're staring at 13, 14 wins.
Case, this feels so good to ask this question. Casey, does the road to the Super Bowl come through Foxborough?
I'm not going to put it out, because I know a lot of people that are kind of going to go against what Adam just perfectly placed out there is the fact of the strength of schedule being a thing. But I remind others that when the Chiefs were coming off of their Super Bowl win heading into that 2020 season, their strength of schedule was nothing up until they got to their bye week and then faced a few different challenges after that. They went 9-0 and then fell short to the Bucs in that Super Bowl when they tried to go back-to-back. Strength of schedule doesn't particularly mean everything if you don't have litmus tests sprinkled in between. Bucs, litmus test. Raiders, unfortunately, even though they suck, they were a litmus test to start off the season. Bills, litmus test. Then you're going to have a Ravens test. So you're going to have
Bucs
enough.
were a litmus test.
I said that.
Went out, took care
So you're
of
going to have
business,
enough tests sprinkled in throughout this easy schedule to say, okay, what are the bones of this team? Because playoffs is always a different beast.
Sure. 617-790-0928. We ask you, I mean, is this Patriot team going to be a number 1 seed? It sure looks like it, certainly when you go through the schedule. But as Casey's saying,
avoid the letdown spots.
Yeah, it doesn't always translate. We'll see. Mario in New York. New York? Mario, what's up, bro? He calls us, wants to talk Pats. Take a listen.
Well, this is Mario from New York, and I think that it doesn't matter where we end up. I think we're playing with house money. at the beginning of the year, if anybody said that we'd be winning 8, 9, 10 games, you'd take it. This was supposed to be a bridge year, not a playoff or number one seed type of a year. So as much as I'm excited about this year, I think next year is where we have to really make hay. So that's my opinion.
I mean, Mario, I agree.
It's
house money. I think he's right with that. Like, it takes some pressure off this team. And I also think being a young team a lot of times takes pressure off of you because you don't know any better. So you're playing with house money because you're right. You've exceeded expectations this season. But also you're young, just happy to be there, just having fun, just balling.
You think anybody in these are professional athletes. Mike Vrabel is a Super Bowl champion, not as a head coach.
They don't have a watered-down mentality.
Do you think anybody in that locker room is saying, we're just playing with house money? Nobody thought we were going to be this good.
I think it's loose.
Sure.
I don't think they're uptight.
Yeah, but I think part of the reason it's loose is because they've won as much as they have. It's not just what were our expectations going into the year. Like, teams that get tight are the teams, obviously, with high expectations that are underachieving,
That's
like
right.
Kansas City, Baltimore.
Right.
These teams might be a little tight right now.
That's
Who
right.
knows? Maybe
I don't
they're
think them
veteran
being
experience.
loose is
They're
just
not.
a testimony to them winning, because I think we could take it back to the trade deadline and what they did not do and everybody losing their hair over that. Because it was like, why not go all in? We're doing well right now. So to Mario's point, you're exceeding expectations. You don't have to overkill anything at the moment. And I think Vrabel is even tempered enough to be like, we're doing good.
Yeah.
We're doing better than expected, but we still have a goal and a focal point here. Big picture is what this has been about.
Right, but then it comes back to the whole, like, if you're on my side of the fence with this, that it was a mistake to not do anything at the trade deadline.
Well, that's where I'm at.
You know,
I don't know how you guys are still there. The Colts are doing what right now? And you had them as
one game since the deadline.
But regardless, he had him as the tipping point for Super Bowl because Sauce Gardner is a part of the secondary. So, like, the shots that have been made in terms of you added talent and we did nothing, they're showing you what they can do with this. By the way, that Chiefs season that I just referred to, does anybody know the name Mecole Hardman? No?
The receiver?
Just enough?
Yeah, we know Mecole.
Okay, just enough, though, right? DeMarcus Robinson.
Special.
Just enough?
Sure,
yeah. You have
special.
1,000-yard receiver on that roster by the name of Tyreek Hill, who got marked up all day by the Bucs. So it doesn't always have to be a sexy transaction. That's why I stick with the fact that they had goals, they're sticking to those goals, and they just happen to be exceeding expectations.
So, there's a middle ground there. I don't disagree. It didn't need to be a Sauce Gardner, like, name kind of thing. And obviously, it's not even a position of need for them. But it didn't need to be the Breece Hall, the Trey Hendrickson. Like, I'm just talking about depth.
I didn't disagree with depth.
depth.
I'm just talking about the other names and some of the adding things to the wide receiver room. You got young guys that have a case to make.
Kyle Williams, right? I mean, he's stepping up. 617-790-0928. Call us. Get in here. We're partying for the Bees. We're talking Patriots. I mean, we got it all going. We don't need to talk about the Celtics right now. We'll do that some other time. Call us. We're talking Red Sox. We got everything going.
Best thing we can say about them is they played last night.
We're still partying on Nation Nation. Come with us. We'll see you there.